All right, so I'm Rob Fields.
And I'm Bob Fields. This is my dad. He's been helping me with this project.
So a couple of years ago, I was poking through the garage here and came upon a big metal tub. You can see it in the background there, and that is from an old prototype for a Sports 2000 racer that my dad here designed from scratch. And I looked at him and I said, track days are becoming like this really popular thing. We should build ourselves a track day car to go beat up on Corvettes and Porsches and all that stuff. And we kind of liked that idea, and then we kind of looked around and we said, there are cars like the GT3 RS, the Challenge Stradale models, and then more extreme things like the Radicals, the Ariel Adams, those kind of cars. And so we said, between his experience and some of the racing work that I was doing at the time, we said, there's a real opportunity to put something together here. There's clearly a market. There's clearly a lot of excitement. There's a lot of cool stuff going on out there. And so, what if we throw our hat in the ring, right? And so that's what we're working on. This is, just absolutely in its infancy, right? This is what we affectionately refer to as the 5 mile an hour tub, because it's the fastest it's going to go, right? We're still doing fitment. We're still checking everything as we make it to make sure that it all goes together. There are certain things that you don't think of or you don't get vetted when you do things in CAD or digitally, and so this is the ultimate fitment check. Short of going out and spending many thousands of dollars on a full carbon tub to be produced. So
the situation with this is that these are real suspension parts that are being bolted up to essentially a model of what the tub will be like. The model is made out of relatively available, inexpensive material in order to make sure that we can fit everything in properly. We've already found a few things that fortunately we did discover before we went to the carbon level. There were a couple of places where things were bumping into each other just a little bit that the CAD hadn't given us quite the right clearance on. And there are a couple of places where we found that we couldn't get the tools in to tighten things the way we needed to, so we're going to make some modifications to take care of that. But the basic idea of all this, as Rob was describing, was to have a track day car that would be one of the fastest cars at the track when you were on the track, but that you could also drive to the track and home again instead of having to have a big rig and hot and cold running mechanics to keep you in shape. So two simultaneous goals. One would be able to make it street legal, even if just barely, and the other is to make it be very reliable. So when you get to the track, you can just drive it, get a whole day in, and not have to spend all of your time wrenching rather than driving.
Absolutely. One of the other things that really helped us along on this was sort of, where we looked for inspiration, right? Right now, especially, it's always been there, but now more than ever, there's just this unbelievable nostalgia flowing through the automotive community, right? People my age who are pining for races that they weren't even born at the time. And so we looked at all of that and we said, what if you could have that styling, that feel, that, je ne sais quoi about, some of the Le Mans racers, some of the Targa Florio races, some of the really iconic cars in endurance and sprint racing. What if you could have all of that, but you could have readily available modern powertrain components, readily available suspension components, take advantage of some of the technological advances that have come along, and also, by the way, not have to pay $3 million to own one of those old Le Mans cars, right? And so we said, if I was one of us was the guy that had one of those multi-million-dollar cars, and I wanted something that I could jump in, feel similarly at home in, but I wouldn't worry about balling it up into the wall at Road Atlanta or whatever. What would that look like? What would it feel like? And so that's where a lot of the decisions that went into this came from styling to handling to powertrain. And so we feel that we're bringing a lot of what the car community is nostalgic for back to the community with a much more modern touch, much more reliable, consistent approach. And so,
Yeah, to kind of put that in perspective, the car that this is inspired by, it had a motor that produced 265 horsepower. Okay? That motor took over 3 weeks for a factory technician to assemble. 3 weeks to assemble that motor. You can imagine how finicky and fine-tuned that was. Today we can get 265 horsepower easily from a motor of very similar size without tuning it at all. So it's just as reliable as the one you drive every day. You turn the key and it goes. So the experience that the driver is going to have is going to be very similar, but he won't need all of the incredible mechanical support system that used to accompany these long-distance cars. And also talk a little bit about, for the last couple of weeks, Gabe has been here helping me assemble this. And if you saw some of the earlier videos, you can see how far we've gotten since we started. The suspension was not mounted, the tub was not completed. Everything has made huge progress over these last 2 weeks. We are now at the stage where people can actually sort of climb in. Gabe did this, and you can see what it's like to sit inside the car, make sure you can see out the windshield, all the things that there's room for your maneuvering of the controls, all those good things. So we've made huge progress. We're hoping to have a car running that we can test with by the end of this summer. And then, Rob, you can go over some of our future plans.
Yeah, so the plan obviously is take this forward into production. The short-term goal is to line up a couple of pre-production buyers, people who really want to be intimately involved with the development process, people who want to be out at the track driving something new, driving something different, who want to have a real part in the future of what we're doing. Beyond that, we're looking at going into a very low volume production. A lot of what's going to make this car special is how custom and bespoke you can get certain things that you would be paying the whole value of the car to get from some of the bigger companies that are out there. And so, if you think about some of the things that people go through to make their perfect track day car, even when they take something out of the box from the factory, they oftentimes, even on very expensive cars, are changing a lot of things about it. And so we say, we're gonna incorporate that right from the get-go. So especially if you're in that pre-production group, you're gonna have a ton of say over how the car is built, how everything is put together. The ergonomics of everything, especially, is something that we're really excited about working on. So that's sort of the short term. Long term, we're looking at, like I said, very small volume production. This is certainly not going to be one of the more expensive cars out there, but it's going to compete with some of the top tier cars that are available. Especially for something that you can take on the street, that you can drive to Cars and Coffee and then the next day be out on Mid-Ohio. So we're really excited about getting to that point, right? We've got a ton of development work between us and there. Just like there was a ton of development work to get to this point before any of these videos started. I mean, we've been doing a lot of work for a number of years now to get just to this point. The audience, you were very fortunate to get to see a lot of that sort of come to its culmination here and actually see things going together that have been worked on for a very long time. So we're working on this. We've got a couple other projects that we're working on that we're very excited about that will also be in that sort of realm, that track day and light street use kind of category, but definitely a different type of car than this, less of the long endurance racer, more of the GT sports car. So we're working on a number of projects now. This obviously is sort of our baby right now. We're working mostly on this, but we're excited to be working with a lot of people. We're excited to bring new people into our project as the opportunity comes up, and the goal is to get this moved forward to the point where we've got a real structural tub, we've got a real structural or real full power plant built out, and we're ready to take this thing out on the track and surprise a lot of people. All right, so I'm Rob Fields.
Wait, not yet.
Not yet.
I need you, one of y'all to clap. All right, cool.
Good.